Hi everyone, my name is Gerald Payne, CEO of As Good as Gold Australia, and I'm here once again with my brother Brian, a partner at As Good as Gold.
Thank you.
And this evening we interview the top trends forecaster in the world, the one and only Gerald Celente. Gerald is the director of the Trends Research Institute and the publisher of the Trends Journal, where you read about history before it happens. Good evening and welcome back, Gerald Celente.
Thank you for having me.
Oh, absolute pleasure. We were just saying it's been over a year since we've chatted with Gerald. Mm-hmm. And I think, Brian, it's probably because over the last 12 months or so, there's been nothing happening out there.
Absolutely nothing.
We thought that we would be lacking things to talk about. That's not true. That is not true. Everything has been happening, of course, and the world is in absolute chaos. Unprecedented debt, and going broke. And there's only one way to go broke, that's to have too much debt. And I really believe that that's the huge issue at the moment. Unemployment levels, if not for government contributions, Gerald, I would think we would be at levels of the Great Depression. Trade wars escalating, riots, protests, interest rates at all-time lows, nowhere to move. I mean, this has all happened over 9 months.
Yeah, I was going to say 6. So
yep.
There you go. Yeah, somewhere between 6 and 9. Incredible.
Yep. With all of this, 2 days ago, 2 or 3 days ago, we were advised that a new vaccine had been formulated and would be available early in the new year. In fact, at the beginning of next year. All of a sudden, the stock market surges. And gold and silver take a dive, as if to say, in the blink of an eyelid, that everything's okay again, or will be, from early next year, and we'll be back on track. Back on track again. As if to say, I think we need more than a vaccine. I really do. So the economy, I keep saying, Brian, is not like a tap that you can turn off and on at will. At best, I think the road to recovery will be long and arduous if we recover it at all. Gerald, what are your thoughts moving forward? Well, I'm really looking forward to your views.
We're in the greatest depression already. You mentioned they're dumping in this money to keep it up, making people feel as though the government's going to take care of them. And they're just all this digital money printed on nothing and backed by nothing, just flooding into economies around the world. And debt levels, of course, of governments keep going way up. This is unprecedented in world history. And they're locking down again. They're locking down across Europe. They're locking down back here in the United States. I don't have to tell you what's going on in the communist fascist state of Australia. It's one after another. We have this is totally against, by the way, the Constitution and the Bill of Rights in America. You don't have a little boy that's a governor like we have over here in New York, little Andy Cuomo, a little nobody, arrogant guy would be nobody if daddy wasn't Mario, if daddy didn't get me here. And I'm going to rename the Tappan Zee Bridge after my daddy. And I got my arrogant little brother on CNN, the Cartoon News Network. He'd be nowhere either if daddy wasn't there. But I'm going to tell you what to do. Don't you know who I am? Get back in your house.
Yeah.
Close that restaurant.
Yeah.
No serving in the bar. I'll tell you what to do. And it's in country after country, one after another. You got these little dictators telling you what to do, and everybody bows down. Look at these reporters, prostitutes, not reporters, the little media whores that get paid to put out. You see them doing their thing, and here they are. Nobody around them, and here I am over here and nobody, and I'm sending out BS, and you're going to swallow it, so make sure you keep wearing that mask. Oh, the mask that does... Yeah. Here's the box, right? These masks help protect against certain particulate contaminants, but do not eliminate exposure to the risk of any disease or infection So keep wearing these, you little stupid jerks. You keep doing what I tell you to do. You're a little nobody, just a plantation worker on the global plantation of Slavelandia. And close down your little damn businesses, and because we're going to let the big ones stay in running. Your Walmarts could stay there. Your Targets could keep running. Your Home Depots, all the big ones, but get back in your house, close your business, go out of business. Where's this going? It's going to hell in front of our eyes. They've destroyed the lives of hundreds of millions of people and tens of millions of businesses. And you go back to when these little crap heads started doing this, all their little followers were saying, oh, it'll come back. Oh, it'll come back. Oh, yeah, the airline industry, it's great. Hospitality sector doing terrific. Oh, yeah, tourism just going off the charts. Restaurant business never been booming better. Where's it going? It's hell on earth.
Of course. Yeah, of course it is. It's like Oliver Twist. And I keep saying this, and you've confirmed it. It's like Oliver Twist, and we all remember the movie where Oliver has finished his bowl of soup and he walks up, stands up, urged on by the other young boys in the breakfast area, goes up to the master of the house and says, please, sir, could I have another bowl of soup? And the master says, more? As if to say, who on earth do you think you are? Go back and sit down and be quiet. And that's really what you're saying at the moment, is that we're just being told to sit down, be quiet, do as you're told. That's it, isn't it? Yeah. Total control. And if you control people economically, you have absolute control.
I like your bit on the mask because Darren and I were only talking a half hour ago before we came on here. We were talking about television, how the news reporters have got these masks on and all this sort of thing. And we're looking at it and saying, well, there's only one other person in the room, and that's the guy behind the camera. And, and they're
taking them off when they're finished. This is an act.
Yes, of course.
Yeah.
And what the act is to get everybody vaccinated.
Yes.
That's your act. It's right in front of everybody's eyes. I want to make this clear. I fight. I just don't talk. I had a rally here on the 4th of July. I own the most historic buildings in America, on the most historic not the most historic, but on the most historic four corners. I own 3 of them, pre-Revolutionary War stone buildings. And one of them, we had a crown garden, a huge garden. We had a couple hundred people up here on the 4th of July. And it was against all the laws, or not laws, the rules. These aren't laws. They're not passed by representatives. And you should see the crap I got for it. And I refused I kept doing it. I said, if you could have Black Lives Matter rallies over here, don't you tell me I can't have a 4th of July rally. And you little Andy Cuomo, the governor, you come and try to stop me. No, you come man to man. Don't send your little goons. And I held a rally. And I fight for this because I see where this is going. I'm a trend forecaster. My book's Trends 2000, Trend Tracking, international best-selling books. I've been writing a magazine since 1991. Anybody that has a better track record than forecasting trends, show me, or else I don't want to hear it. I see where this is going. And where it's going is one dictator after another and no freedom in your nation. If people don't stand up and fight, they are going to be nothing more than all aboard, next train to Auschwitz, and put on that mask. I'll tell you what to do. You do what I tell you to do, and you behave. And look at these little pieces of crap cops that bust people's chops for this little crap. We don't have that here in Kingston. These guys are real men and women they're locals here. So they don't, when I had the rally, they left me alone. So people better fight for their freedom. because they're going to lose everything. They're going to lose everything. Could you imagine being a young person? A young person, get back in your room. Get back in your dormitory. Don't go out. No hugging, no kissing, no singing and dancing. I'm a tight little piece of crap. I'm an old piece of garbage, and I'll tell you what to do because I can't get it up anymore, and you're not going to be able to go out and play. That's what you're getting. Look at these old pieces of crap.
Yeah, I know. I know.
And women telling little young guys and young women what to do, no fun. And little kids walking around with masks on this big, brainwashing them. These are the same crap heads that had us hiding under desks in case an atom bomb went off when I was a kid. Like that's going to make a goddamn bit of difference that I'm under a desk and an atom bomb went off? They're doing, when you're sitting down, it's okay to eat without a mask on, but when you stand up, the virus hits you. These are the same pieces of crap that had us doing this. They're making it up. Look at that little piece of garbage you got there, that little Danny Andrews. Can you imagine this guy in a fight man to man? As we say in the Bronx, he wouldn't know whether to piss or shit if you called him out. And he's telling people what to do, and they're following him. Look what's going on. Heil Hitler. March to Mussolini and salute Stalin. That's what's going on around the world.
Well, it certainly is going on in Australia, Gerald. Yeah, all over
around
the world.
We've become the Chinese. We used
But you
to
have
make
some
fun of
friends.
them when they used to wear masks all the time. Oh, look at these Chinese. Oh, look at these Chinese. And now we become the Chinese, and we're being dictated just like the Chinese. Is because 1.5 million people a year die from air pollution in filthy China. 1.5 million a year, 7 million people a year dying from air pollution. Oh, and you got to watch out for that COVID. You know, all those chemicals they put in the water, all the pesticides, all the preservatives in your food, all the artificial flavors, that's okay. That's okay, that stuff. That won't kill you, all those. Oh, yeah, the water filled with all the, it's good to drink. Don't worry about it. Oh, yeah, all the filth in the air and the earth, it's okay. The pesticides, chemicals, don't worry about them. Watch out for the COVID. Watch out for the COVID.
Yeah. Gerald, you know what I find really interesting? There are hundreds of very famous people that have contracted, so supposedly contracted COVID-19. And, you know, you can talk about Usain Bolt and people like that and The Rock and people sort of, and royal family and prime ministers and presidents. So many of them have contracted COVID. And it's a good story. It's a really good story because if they can get it, gee whiz, and they're really protected, what chance do we have? However, Gerald, I've asked hundreds of people, do you know any of these people that have died from COVID-19? Can't come up with one name. Not one famous person who has been used, part of the story, right, that they sell us, not one of them has died of COVID-19. You've got to take so you've got to look at it and say, well, hey, if it hasn't taken one out, then how serious is it really? And we know it's not serious. I mean, really, who dies of COVID-19? You've got to be kidding me.
No, it's
The numbers are there. The recovery, according to the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, the recovery rate from people 1 to 20 years old is 99.997 recovery.
Yeah.
The rest from 1 to 60 is 99.7% recovery rate. 94%, again, CDC numbers, 94% of the people that have died had 2.6 pre-existing chronic conditions. Why are they dying in America? Well, among the leading pre-existing chronic conditions are obesity.
Yeah.
Only 70% of Americans are overweight. 42% are obese. Oh, and you see those numbers in all the fast food joints and the people that sell all those processed foods, those big companies, their numbers are going way up. People are eating more potato chips. They're eating more garbage crap.
Yep.
Oh, that will, and none of these little boys and girls, these prostitutes with their masks on, giving you the crap. Nobody talks about building your immune system up. They never talk about getting healthy and doing something to improve yourself, your health. No, wait for that vaccination, because that's what they're going to do. They're doing, in New York, the Bar Association on Saturday passed a resolution that all citizens in New York must get vaccinated. The Bar Association, these little pieces of garbage lawyer crap, these little arrogant people that play tough when they're doing their law stuff, telling me what to do.
Yeah.
No, that's,
Who the hell are you?
yeah, that is dictatorship. There's no question on that one. That is total dictatorship. Well, anything else, Darryl?
Oh, there's plenty.
On this subject.
Yeah. Well,
We won't have to talk about anything else.
What I wanted to bring up was another point. And we talk about this often with people like Gerald, but you very rarely hear it in mainstream media. And once again, it's debt. Now, I just want an impression here from Gerald on this, because over here, Gerald, mainstream media is now starting to talk up the housing industry, because it did hit a bit of a flat spot. What they're saying now is that we're back on board again. We're going to go through another housing boom. What they've done over here in Australia, and you may be, and I'm interested to know if you're doing something similar in the United States, but over here in Australia, in particular for new home buyers, Brian,
Yep.
5% deposit, 5% down will get you a new house. Now, you've got to keep in mind, and money is freely available. The government will provide you with $40,000 up front just to make life easier for you as an incentive to move into your new home. First time. So money is freely available. Going back less than a year ago, the banks in Australia experienced a royal commission. And basically they were told that their lending criteria was too flexible. They were too generous. And it cost the banks billions of dollars in the process. They were fined billions of dollars. Now the government is saying, no, look, open up, become more flexible. We've got to get this housing movement underway again. And so they've just turned tables. I mean, these guys don't know what they're doing. It's one decision, then reverse it, and we'll try this, and reverse it again and try that. But the bottom line, at the end of the day, is they are incentivizing young people to purchase a property that they cannot afford, committing to hundreds of thousands of dollars, increasing their debt level until they're in a position where they have nowhere to move anymore. But you better jump in first, or jump in right now before you miss out, because this boom is on its way again. Now, I can just see, even with the levels of debt now that are astronomical, this is just going to intensify. We're broke now, but this is just going to intensify. Gerald, is the same sort of thing, are the same incentives being provided in the US currently?
No, not like in Australia. And
Okay.
if my recollection is correct, the debt level of Australian citizens is among the highest in the Western nations. It's going on. We're having a housing boom here as well. But the banks, you cannot with 5% on general. I mean, you have to, you got to put like 20% down in most instances. But the housing boom is happening because people are leaving the big cities and they're going more to the ex-urban and suburban areas. Where I am in Kingston, New York, which was the first capital of New York City, of New York State rather, according to Bloomberg, the prices went up here the highest. We're 90 miles north of New York City on the Hudson River. The boom is temporary. the commercial real estate is going in the toilet. Office occupancy rate in New York City right now is between 10 to 15%. Subway traffic is down to 30%. Midtown is a ghost town. No neon lights shining on Broadway. Boarded up everywhere you look around, from Fifth Avenue down to the West Village. So commercial real estate's going under big time. We have the housing boom going on now. This is temporary. It's not going to continue. They're going to do everything they can. And I say it's temporary, but I don't know how long that temporary is, because right now they're at zero interest rate policy.
Yep.
They're going to go into negative territory.
Yep.
The other important thing in New York City, for example, before this happened, back in 2019, you could go uptown, downtown, all around the town in New York for rent, for rent, for rent, for rent, for rent. There was a huge, huge number of for rents in the city before this happened. Now it's for rent and for sale. There's places like the Hudson Yards. It's on the Hudson River. The ugly thing they built. $35 billion. Michelin restaurants in there. Gone. Empty. Nobody there.
Yeah.
So this is going to go down big time. This is artificially propping it up, to answer your question. It's an artificial prop up.
Now, I agree wholeheartedly. In fact, just recently, Scott Morrison, our Prime Minister, made a statement. I've mentioned this before, and I have asked the question before, but I'm really interested in your comment. Scott Morrison said in the GFC, the economy shrank by around 0.1% during that full period. In this calendar year, the expectation is that the economy, global economy, he's talking, is going to shrink by around 4.5%. Now, that being the case, I don't know if I'm reading this correctly, but that to me suggests that it's going to have 45 times the impact on the economy than it had in the GFC. If that is the case, Gerald, I mean, I can't think of a word to describe how badly this economy is going to be affected. Do you read it the same way?
It's unprecedented what's going on.
Yeah.
You can't put all these businesses out of business like this. People are suffering. You know, they have these, you can't get evicted in many places in this country if you're not paying your rent. How are the landlords going to pay their mortgages? How are they going to pay their taxes? I mean, this is insanity. No, this is just, that's the same Morrison, by the way, that also said a number of months ago that people are going to mandatory vaccination, if my recollection is right.
He did say that, yes.
Yeah. So why would anybody believe this piece of garbage crap? What the hell do they know? I was the assistant to the Secretary of the New York State Senate as a young guy. I got to see what politics look like firsthand. I've been with presidents, prime ministers, and princes.
Yeah.
You know who these guys are? These are the people you hated in high school and college that wanted to be class president, the head of the student council. They're little gutless, moronic slime balls who will suck up and bow down and take it any way they can to get up. That's who's running us. Why would anybody with a brain bigger than a pea listen to this piece of crap Morrison or any of them? They're just a bunch of bullshitters. They don't know what's going on. Nobody's ever done this before, locking down entire economies. Little Conte over there in Italy, the prime minister, not even elected. Yeah, take out that O out of the Conte and stick a U into it. Little Sanchez over there in Spain, been trying to become running for anything that he could, telling you what to do. That little Gatson Macron over there in France. Look at that little boy. Look at that little boy telling you what to do. One country after another. Gutless little pieces of crap. They don't know what's going on. And they don't have to worry because they get their money in the name of taxes. They live the way that they want. They don't have to worry about paying the rent, getting health care, having a retirement plan, paying their mortgage. They don't have to worry. They steal your money in the name of taxes. They're not worried about you. Hey, how come nobody's cutting the salaries of politicians? Oh, it's okay for you to lose your business.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. No, that's
as Egon said, and we'll never forget, he stood on stage in Australia about 15 months ago and said, the one thing you must understand is that all politicians lie. All politicians lie. Because they just tell you what you want to hear. And of course, that just doesn't work. It never works.
You just stole my thunder. He just stole my thunder because I was about to say in Australia we have a bit of a humorous comment that says, how do you tell when a politician's lying? When he opens his mouth. That's it. So that's the description of a politician.
Go to Google and type in definition of politician. Person that runs a political office, a person that's manipulative and devious, typically to gain advancement within an organization. Google it up, it's right there. Politic, sucking the life out of us. Many ticks, politics.
Yeah, that's exactly right. We better move on, otherwise the night will be finished. It's morning. Yeah, you'll run out of morning, we'll run out of evening. But anyway, here we go. I was reading a bit from Alistair MacLeod. He's a British economist, and this is in a recent piece. He was talking the difference between, or is there a difference between the 1929 depression and what we presently got? Now, this is what he said. In October of 1929, the Smoot-Hawley Tariff Act was introduced with a 20% duty. This past 24 months has seen the US add or substantially increase tariffs on Chinese goods. Do you believe, Gerald, that the similarities will produce the same result, or will the US try to print their way out of depression?
Print their way out of depression. There's no question about it. But it's not going to work. And the similarities are, go back to 1929, you have a market crash, you had trade wars, currency wars, Great Depression, World War II. We're going to go into a crash. The markets are going to crash at some point. There's no relationship between Main Street and Wall Street. Everybody knows that's listening to your show and follows what you do, that they're artificially propping the markets up. The Federal Reserve, right in front of everybody's eyes, $7 trillion into the repo markets and lowering interest rates so they could keep gambling. What Trump did with the tax breaks that he gave them, they spent about $1 trillion of that with stock buybacks. So the markets are artificially propped up. And so we're going through the same thing. Currency wars, trade wars, the markets are going to crash. Greatest Depression, this will be way worse than the Great Depression. And then World War III. When all else fails, they take you to war. And this will be the war that Einstein, when they asked Albert Einstein, who knew a little thing about, bombs, what kind of weapons will they use to fight the Third World War? Excuse me. And he said, I don't know. He said, but they'll be using sticks and stones to fight the fourth. Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's the truth.
That's the
Hypersonic
truth.
weapons, biological warfare, sending in what? Oh, we got a defense system. Yeah, they just sent in 100,000, 500,000 drones, dropping everything all over the place. And you're going to stop this?
Mm-hmm.
And that's what they do. These are politicians. When all else fails, they take you to war. It happened right here in America. People forgot. Another little slimy jerk, little Georgie Bush, another boy born on third base and thought he had a home run. Be nobody if daddy wasn't married, George, and grandpa wasn't Prescott Bush. Look at that little piece of crap, George E. Bush. America was in a recession. The dot-com bust happened. And then there's 9/11. And we're going to war against Afghanistan. Then we're going, oh yeah, forgot about it. Forgot about the recession. Now we artificially propped it. That's what they're going to do again. They're doing it again. They'll do it again and again and again. Matter of fact, over in Australia, what are they talking about now? They're talking about, well, you know, we don't have to do trade with China. We're looking to go other places, right? I'm not right. That's the latest. It's in our Trends Journal this week. We wrote about it.
All right. Okay. And look, in this conversation we're having right now, we just finished with Lynette Zhang. And I asked Lynette that,
Great.
yeah, lovely lady, really on the ball. And I did ask Lynette, do we have any Ron Pauls that, you know, are out there that in Australia we don't know about? Because surely, for God, we definitely need more people like that. Do you know of any? Are there any coming up that you can speak about?
Ron Paul's, no, there's nobody here. There's nobody.
No.
Ron Paul, matter of fact, Ron Paul's the last president that I voted for. I didn't vote in this last election. I don't vote for lesser of two evils. Don't deal with him. Don't go out with him. Don't invite him into my life. I don't deal with, there's no such thing to me as a lesser of two evils. And just like, Obama didn't murder as many people as George Bush did. He only destroyed Libya and Syria. And Bush, boy, look what he did to Iraq and Afghanistan. So I don't deal with lesser of two evils. There's nobody. Ron Paul is the only one that there's nobody here. Nobody.
They ever stood up. Yeah. Yeah.
Zero.
All righty.
Desperately required.
Yeah, absolutely. Just to follow on from that, a little bit different scenario. How will gold react to all this money printing and budget deficits of $3 trillion or more? What will 2021 bring to gold and silver savers?
I see silver prices percentage-wise going up faster than gold. And I believe gold will be well above 2,000, 2,500 in 2021. And I could see eventually silver going way past $60, $70, $80 an ounce. And by the way, you also look at Bitcoin. Same reason that's going up. It's a different generation buying into it. They don't buy into gold and silver, the younger generations, but they're looking for alternative currencies. People forgot that the reason Bitcoin went up so dramatically was back when China was going through all those difficulties and the yuan was collapsing. It was the Chinese young people that really drove up the price of Bitcoin, but then China banned it. But they still started going up. And now you're seeing Bitcoin up again now over 15,000, which we said it would when it broke over 10,000 and solidified. Same thing with gold and silver. The people that are aware know that the money printing that they're doing is worth nothing. And we are forecasting they're going to all come up with new currencies, all digital currencies, the countries. They're going to say, oh, we did away with the dollar. Now we got the trans dollar. Yeah, we'll make it like that or something, you know. And it's a digital dollar. So now we could track every penny that you're spending. We'll get it in taxes so we don't have to keep working. We're politicians. And we can keep playing our games. We'll know where you spent it, when you spent it, and how you spent it. So they're going to go to a digital currency when their other currencies collapse. And again, the only thing that I can see bringing down gold and silver prices are when and if and when governments ban it. And not to think that they'll ban it. All you have to go back is to 1933 in the United States when they did ban the sale of gold. And by the way, they forced the people to turn it all in. And it was at like $26 or $22 an ounce, something like that. They made them turn it in. And then when they got it all in and what they thought they did, they raised the price to $33 an ounce.
Sure.
So they'll do that again too. And that's why you need to put it in a safe haven place as well. So I could only see gold and silver going up. They're all going to keep printing more money, again, backed by nothing and printed on nothing to artificially inflate the economy.
Talking about gold, for a moment. Top 6 investments in the last 20 years. No surprise here. Gold, up, number one, 423%. This is in US dollars. So it's up 423% over a 20-year period. Copper was second at 246%. Iron ore, 236%. Silver, up 230%. Stocks, up 224%. S&P 500, 224%. Bonds, up 165%. So gold ranks number one. Over the last 18 months, certainly here in Australia, gold from $1,800 to $2,600 is up 45%. Silver hit a low 18 months ago at $19.38. It's currently trading at $33.50. It's up 70%. Now, this is during a relatively stable period. Nothing like what we're going to experience moving forward over the next 20 years. So one would suspect, Gerald, that gold and silver will at least emulate what it's done in the last 20 years. That being the case, I ask the question, what is it going to take, Gerald, for people to get it? Understand these numbers.
It's again, it's the same. The masses follow what they're told. It's only going to be that small percentage of people that buy it, that are aware what's going on. Most people are brainwashed with crap. They don't know what's going on. So, what's going to take are the big hedge funds and Wall Street to buy into it heavy, like Ray Dalio from Bridgewater Associates, the biggest hedge fund out there, saying gold was going to go up. And by the way, in our Trends Journal on June 6th, 2019, we sent out a trend alert. We said it was the beginning of the gold bull run. In US dollars, gold was $1,332 an ounce. And now, as we're speaking in US dollars, it's what, about 1,800 it's about 1,870.
Yep.
Dalio, 2 months after we came out with that forecast, Dalio said it would go up. It's going to take the investments firms, the ones that drive it up the highest. But then again, they rig the market, like the criminal group JP Morgan Chase. And I say criminal group because they were charged with rigging the precious metals market, and they were slapped on the wrist about 2 months ago here in the United States with a $900 million fine for rigging the silver and gold markets. So they're going to do everything they can to keep the prices of gold and silver down so they can artificially play the bigger gambling, what they call investments, on Wall Street. Mm-hmm. So that's what we have to watch out for.
But you do it until you can't do it any longer. That's really what happens, isn't it? I mean, the market becomes too big a player in real terms for the central banking system to maintain that sort of control. I believe that during the GFC, prior to the GFC, typically, as is the case now, about 1%, just under 1% of the Western world was invested into precious metals. However, at the end of the GFC, it was sitting at 7.5% or thereabouts. Yeah. So very hard to stop once it starts to gather momentum. I think when people will start to realise that we are experiencing inflation that is rarely talked about. But when you go to the supermarket and what would have cost you $100 3 months ago cost you $150 this month, $200 in a couple of months' time, then you start to think, and okay, what am I going to do about this? I'm going to consider a safe haven investment, gold and silver. The market then is too big, I think, for central banks to control. Do you agree with that?
I totally agree. And we're going to see inflation. I call it dragflation, in the sense that the economy is going to go drag way down and inflation is going to go way up.
Yeah.
And the reason, one of the primary reasons pushing inflation up is the lack of supply, because they closed down so much. So prices are going way up on a lot of goods. And number two is the currencies are going way down. So now it takes you more money because your currency is worthless to buy the product. Yeah. And look what's going on in China with the yuan. You know, it keeps going up. And China has what they call now a dual circulation policy. They know that the global economy is going to slow down. 1.4 billion people. So what they're doing is they're building more of an internal self-sustaining economy. So therefore, they want the renminbi to be higher because they're importing more product. So the higher the value of their currency, the cheaper it is to import all that product. So that's how they're growing. They're growing by pushing their currency up and having more of a self-sustaining economy. Unlike the Western nations that dump money, peanuts to the people to make them feel like they could keep going during these terrible times, the Chinese have invested in infrastructure. That's what they did in the United States during the Great Depression. The WPA, the Work Progress Administration, the bridges, the tunnels, the dams, the Hoover Dam, parkways, they put the people to work. They put the people to work. So China's building their internal economy. They want their currency to be strong, so when they buy things from other countries, it's cheaper. The other countries' economies are going down. Their currencies are going down, so it's going to cost more to buy things, therefore pushing up inflation and simultaneously pushing up gold and silver prices. And the central banks, as you well know, in 2019 or 2000, I think it was 2019, they bought more gold than they had in 50 years. And now they're selling it because they need the money.
Yeah.
The central banks.
Yeah.
That's how desperate they are.
Yeah.
Strong point.
Very good, strong point. Gerald, as we all know, silver, especially silver, gold as well, but obviously silver has been, let's say, manipulated is one word to describe what's been happening to silver, the price I'm talking about. But the reality is with silver, as I'm reading it, it's coming out of the ground at somewhere between 8.5 to 9 to 1 with reference to the same value of gold, or the same amount of gold. So for every 1 ounce of gold, it's about 8.5, 9 ounces of silver. Obviously, the silver to gold ratio is a totally different scenario, but we're now starting to see the more uses of silver. And what I'm going to bring about here is that we're seeing a lot of talk about green energy. So green energy at the forefront of investment dollars. How do you think the silver price is going to react to the massive increase in demand if this green energy thing takes off?
Oh, it's going to be more, it's positive for it, just like there is with the using in all of the high tech, whether it's a cell phone, computer, keyboards, whatever. And the important thing about it is as well, there are stockpiles of gold. But once your keyboard breaks, or your phone breaks, it's in the dump. There are no stockpiles of silver. And as you point out, the ratio is way out of balance. Was it usually about 17 to 1, 12 to 1, depending on who you're talking to? And now it's what, about 80 to 1, 90 to 90? What is it about? So
it's ridiculous.
So it's very positive to answer your question, because it's going to keep using it more in the green energy. It uses solar panels and on and on. So silver has, like copper, Dr. Copper. You watch copper prices. Copper is used from high tech to heavy industry. And it's going to be the same thing with silver.
Last question, Gerald. We refer to a gentleman that we met many years ago, a gentleman by the name of Charlie Tremendous Jones, an American. And he would say the two most important things in life are the people you meet and the books you read. It makes an enormous amount of sense. And my lifetime mentor, a gentleman by the name of Peter Daniels, reinforced that with me. And both Brian and myself learned so much from him in our former business, which was manufacturing, and of course was responsible for us taking a huge interest in precious metals. So what I'd like to ask you, if you had the opportunity to impart with two pieces of advice, you could provide 100, but if you were just limited to two, what budding entrepreneurs, elderly people, well, those that are looking at retiring, and what would you recommend to them? The two most important pieces of advice you could provide.
One is get in the best shape you can, physically, emotionally, and spiritually.
Yeah.
You know, we all have our ups and downs in life. I had someone without going into details, but in the business world that I trusted very, very, I knew him for 30 years, that turned out to be a pathological liar and a crook, without going into the details. And rather than going down, I doubled up. I doubled up on my workouts. I doubled up on my diet.
Yeah.
I doubled up to get in the best shape I can, physically, emotionally, and spiritually, so I beat it.
Yes.
You got to fight.
Yep.
That to me is number one.
Okay.
There's no question about it. And the older you get, the more you have to do to stay in shape and be on your own. And I'll never forget when I turned 50. All of a sudden, I started putting on weight, I was doing the same thing. Metabolism changed like overnight. And so that's the number one, physically, emotionally, and spiritually. And number two, for my dear father, may his soul rest in peace. Every time I'd be talking about something, shooting my mouth off, he'd say, look at me in an Italian, and he'd say to me, Pappagallo, and parrot. Pappagallo means parrot. Stop repeating what everybody else is saying and think for yourself. Think for yourself. And the way you think for yourself is by learning yourself. Doing as much as you can to learn as much as you can. If you call yourself a Republican, a Democrat, a socialist, a progressive, a liberal, you're in a tight little box. How about calling yourself open-minded and not buying into anything? This is some of, you see the P on this. This goes to our writers. This is every day I read, go online and read. You see the underlines, the red, I don't know if you can see that. Yeah. Underlines. Read a whole story, a whole long story like this. And then at the very end, the underlining. Those are the salient points. COVID report. Do you think I want to read all this stuff? Here. I got to read this whole thing, and I underline the salient points. And I take it from all over the world. So open your mind up. We're in the global age. People don't have a clue. Oh, what's in Azerbaijan and Nagorno-Karabakh? Well, what's that? They don't know what's going on over there with Turkey and Armenia and Azerbaijan and Russia now. And, what's a Yemen? I've heard is a Yemen something like, is that a new kind of fruit? They don't have an idea.
Yeah.
So the most important thing is to open your mind up, think for yourself, and get in the best shape you can. And I have a definition of hell.
Tell me.
Taking that last breath and knowing you weren't the person you said you were or could have been.
Yeah. Yeah.
Excellent.
Pretty powerful. Pretty powerful. Thank you so much for that, Gerald. I mean, we could have just asked you that one question and it was worth its weight in gold. So thank you, Gerald. Thank you so much for your input again. I'd love to think that we could get together again within a year, certainly within a year, and just exchange thoughts again. Yeah, really appreciate your input, Gerald. But before we go, many of our viewers and subscribers, I'm sure, would love to be able to connect with what you do. They'd like to know more about what you do and get an understanding of the services that you provide through Trends Institute, of course. And I believe what would be fantastic for them would be to subscribe to Trends Journal. So the benefits would be enormous. So could you please explain to us what the process would be? How can they connect with you? How can they take advantage of the services that you provide?
Well, the Trends Journal, and it's not because it's my magazine, but there's no magazine like it in the world. I mean, you see what it looks like.
Yep.
And it's, the last issue was about 72 pages, not one advertisement. And it's a weekly, a weekly. And we cover the world. We tell you what's going on, what it means, and what's next, so that you can prepare for the future, prevail, and prosper. And of course, as a research institute, we deal with clients, and where is it going? What should we do? How can we get more customers? We have this brand that's dying. This one's going up. What brands do you see? Where things are moving? And for the other smaller, for the magazine, we help what we call on-trendpreneurs. As bad as all this is happening, what's going on, there are a lot of opportunities that are going to exist.
Yes, it will.
So we show where the opportunities are. So that's what the magazine is. And again, we put our heart and soul into this. There's no magazine like it, where you get this kind of information. And it's only $129 a year.
Yeah. Yeah.
So we make it available to the people everywhere we can.
What an opportunity.
You do is go to trendsjournal.com, and you read history before it happened.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, what an opportunity. I mean,
for such a small amount.
These opportunities did not exist 20, 30, 40, 50 years ago. There is no excuse today, and Gerald's right. I mean, as difficult as things might be out there, there are opportunities that are just staring at us.
Open up your mind.
Yep, you've got to. Yep, you've got to do some research. You've got to educate yourself and take advantage of opportunities like Gerald has just provided. Gerald, thank you so much. Really appreciate once again the time that you put in this evening and supporting this channel. So thank you again. We'd also like to thank our subscribers, our viewing audience, our clients. Please take advantage of Gerald's offer. You will be a better person and a smarter person for it, I can assure you. Right now, I'd like to say that stay well, stay focused, and bye for now.
And bye for now.